In addition, a live stream of this meeting is available at the following link. Questions may be submitted beforehand to liz.goodwin@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comment sections as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disabilities, may be sent to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 6:04 p.m. We will begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary Triplett, will you please do me the honor of calling the roll, please?
President Robinson.
Present.
Vice President Bowen.
Present.
Secretary Triplett, President Treasurer Creighton.
Present.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Present.
Trustee Gavin.
Present.
Trustee Doyle.
Present.
Madam President, we have a quorum.
And next is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second or support? Support. The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Treasurer Creighton. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowen.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, next we have a review of board norms, the Board of Education norms for Benton Harbor area schools. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table, and we will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. Those are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions. Next on the agenda, we have public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone present for public comment on agenda items? All right, next on the agenda, we have approval of meeting minutes. As a reminder, this is our work session, so we're not taking a formal vote on the minutes at this particular time. We will be taking a vote next week, Tuesday, the 12th, for work session 2/6/2024, regular session 2/13/2024, and special session 2/22/24. Were there any current concerns or discussion needed regarding the minutes presented?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
just a few grammatical errors, for our closed session. It says Superintendent Evaluation Treasurer Creighton moved that the board retire to close session.
Okay, so Treasurer Creighton, if you could do me the favor or honor of pointing out those grammatical errors and sending those into the superintendent so we can get those fixed by next week. Do you have them highlighted on one of your copies that you could easily identify the ones that you noticed before?
Or just the admin can review them and correct the errors.
Okay,
That'll be sufficient.
all right. Any additional concerns regarding the minutes noted?
President Robinson, I think it is imperative that when these type of reports come before the Board of Education, that everything is in order. And that we are not having these types of conversations. This is something that I have expressed on several occasions. So I know we all make mistakes, but when we come before this body, everything that's in these notes and everything that's presented to this Board of Education should be professional, and it should be accurate, and it should be correct. This is the Board of Education for Benton Harbor Area School. So I want that on the record.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. At this particular time, we'll proceed with board business. As a reminder, protocol as of 9/13/2022, all comments will be limited to 2 minutes per trustee per topic. So we are elated for our first item of business this evening, which is recognition of the Benton Harbor High School Tigers and Coach Sterling. So at this time, I would ask that the Tigers and Coach Sterling please stand. As well as the coaching staff.
Thank you, Madam President. On behalf of the Board of Education and myself, tonight, number one, I want to thank you guys and congratulate you for all the wins that you've had. Your season consists of 21 wins and 1 loss. So I think that in itself deserves another round of applause from the. I will say in person, y'all look a heck of a lot taller than you do on the floor. But currently, our coach Sterling stands at 234 wins. He is the third highest winningest coach in this district, in the history of this district. And depending on tomorrow night, you all can make his winning number go even higher. So tonight, we would like to honor each of you and Coach Sterling with a plaque and some certificates. So we'll get the board, will accompany me across the front. So at this time, Coach Sterling, if you'll come forward, please. And on behalf of the Board of Education, Madam President, we'll present you with this plaque of honor. Thank you. Thank you.
And the secretary simply do us the honor of the certificates for our team.
So once they call your name, come down this way and get certificate, we allow them one this way.
It's good to be a tiger. You got any tigers at the end of it? Are we gonna do it at the end? That's the battle cry. We are so proud of you all, seriously. You all have done an absolutely amazing job representing this community. And so when I call your name, I'll give the certificate to our president and she will give it to you. Kwan Lewis. Jaquan. Brian. Mustafa Muhammad. Rodney Ford. Latrell Johnson. Damarian Bell. He was waiting on them last year for this year. Keyshawn Hobb. To the president. All right, let's get it. Dewan Hassel. In a minute, we gotta shift these coaches. Avion Wilson. Devon Mason. Thank you. Deshaun Matheson. Cody Wilson. Kareem Williams. Sorry. Myron Rice. Jaden Reese. Yeah, that's nothing but an R right there. Y'all see him again. Sorry, back. And last but the most certainly not least, Mr. Antoine. Every coach is a staff of good coaches. And we are so honored to have alumni and people from our community who have been committed to our Tigers. I was going to say, no, Justin Williams. Evan Alexander. Justin Williams. Good. And third,
So I did want to take a moment, everyone, if I can have, gentlemen, if I can have your attention, please. I wanted to take a moment to let you know that it's not just about game wins. Gentlemen. Thank you so very much. I wanted to take a second to ensure that you understand the seriousness of what you are accomplishing. It's not just about game wins, although we know you all love the sport. You are right now in this season a representative of Benton Harbor area schools. And you all know that the odds are counted against us. So you are warriors fighting for Tiger Nation. And so I want to thank you all, your parents, our coaching staff. Thank you all for believing in us, for being here, for choosing to be Tigers and being warriors in this fight for us. So I want you to know that when you go out there in your game tonight and every game as you proceed to state, you have your city on your back. You have Benton Harbor area schools on your back. We're fighting with you and for you. We're absolutely proud of you. And so I wanted to make sure that you all know that you're not just athletes. You are representatives of us, and we are going to be with you every step of the way. So congratulations, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
you gonna do the fight song? I don't know. The fight song. You guys, listen. This is the most powerful fight songs in the world. When the alumni hear this fight song, it just does something to us. Okay? Other people have these little short Michigan fight zones, Michigan State, but Paul Slaughter wrote this fight zone for Benton Harbor High School. And we're almost 150 years old. So when we see this is our battle cry. So y'all ready? Come on. If you don't know what I'm talking about, come on. For we are doing this contest, fighting all the time, which is all high until the one day black we see our band, proudly wave the chain. Fight high until the band. No, no, no. That black, we call it all right now. Fight, that fight, until I call it by children. Until we know that we have won. And yeah. Got it. Yeah, can we get? Thank you all. Thank you so much. We're gonna get it. Yeah. Dr. Buck, y'all come on.
Who's here?
Yeah, y'all get in.
We'll be.
Right here to all the Tigers, do you know get you on this stick? No, you can't touch it. You win the state championship. There you go, coach. 2009. Coaches. Very good. Yeah, in 2009, when our girls won the state championship, then when our boys went to the state title, the one guy from Benton Harbor High School, he covered this. This is the sixth man. We mess with their baskets. They're gonna be able to dunk. They do not put on until the regional final, and they go all the way to the state championship. This has been at every recent state championship that we've ever had. So it will be here tomorrow. We're gonna whatever. They're not gonna do anything to come now, y'all. Okay, so we taking this out and y'all take us all the way to the state championship. We appreciate you. Go Tigers.
Tigers on three. 1, 2, 3.
Tigers.
Everyone got it? Okay. All right. One more time. 1, 2, 3.
Tigers. We're on our way to Wayland. Benton Harbor. Help me, Lord.
Okay, so I'm gonna give us a moment for everyone to be seated. All right, so we're gonna proceed with the business. That was extremely invigorating to begin our meeting like that. So I'm really excited and hopefully we can keep that same positive energy through the remainder of our meeting. So next on the agenda, we have a motion to hire Allen Law Group. This is the only item of business as previously emailed to the board that we'll be taking a vote on. And this is because this is a matter that we need to proceed with expeditiously. And so it would be in our best interest to go ahead and make the selection this evening versus waiting till the next Tuesday because that's an additional 7 days of delay. So I'm gonna present board report number B1. And this is the subject is authorized law firms addition. The date is March 12th, 2024. Reason for board consideration. The board is seeking to add an additional law firm to handle personnel matters, and there's a particular personnel matter. Facts and analysis. The law firm of Allen Law Group has been recommended to be added to the list of board-approved law firms. The law firm is specifically being chosen to represent the district in personnel matters. Policy reference none. Strategic plan reference Benton Harbor area schools will develop, implement, and evaluate a fiscally responsible plan that will ensure physical and psychological safety. Recommended action at the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to approve the Allen Law Group as one of the board's authorized law firms for 2024. For further clarification, I do not anticipate that this particular firm will be needed for a long duration of time. However, we're gonna add it to this particular item. And then if we find that there are other matters, and we are satisfied with the services received, then we have the option of utilizing this law firm moving forward. But this particular vote is taking place so that we can handle a personnel matter as sent to you all previously. So at this particular time, I'd ask, is there a motion to approve board report B1?
Make a motion to approve our law firm.
Is there a second or support?
Second.
The motion has been made by trustee Rocket Martin and supported by Vice President Bowens. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
President Robinson.
You have the floor.
Just a quick question. Isn't there a policy reference for this, like board powers?
Maybe, oh, there's a bylaw specifically about attorneys. Is that the one that you're thinking of?
Yeah, or our power to hire,
Okay, let me look that up for you. I can get that amendment made. Any other questions? All right, 1 second. And if either of you can find it quicker than me, that would be helpful.
had it.
All right, board policies.
President Robinson, as I was preparing it, I didn't find a specific policy.
There is a policy in our bylaw. It's not a policy, but it's more so a bylaw that speaks to attorneys.
President Robinson,
Yes,
if it's not a policy or a bylaw, then it should not be at the board table, so it has to be something. So, I just want to thank Ms. Gavin for catching that, because
Yeah.
there should be a policy reference.
so the policy reference would be bylaw 0172, legal counsel. The Board of Education may employ an attorney to represent the school district or board in actions brought for or against the district and to render other legal services for the welfare of the school district. So Liz, if you could amend that, thank you for noticing. Trustee Gavin, if you could amend it to notate bylaw 0172, legal counsel. All right, if there's no other concerns, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes, Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, thank you all so much. And so I will go ahead, you all were sent the information regarding the rendering of services. And so because the vote has been taken today, I can go ahead and proceed with signing that and getting that sent to Allen Group. So at this particular time, the remainder of the items that we have on the agenda are not for vote tonight. They're for discussion and review. Up next, we have the superintendent evaluation summary. I would like to do two things at this time. One, I would like to personally apologize for my absence at the evaluation. I did not anticipate being absent. I've never missed an evaluation. It was kind of like an out of body experience because I wanted to be present. I wanted to be there with you all. And Treasurer Creighton, I do appreciate you reaching out and asking if I wanted to reschedule, but I knew it was something that was urgent for us to do. And so I did trust the judgment of our remaining board members to be able to come up with an evaluation that was fair in representation of the board. And I would also like to thank you all for your efforts made that evening. I was told that it was quite an extensive and lengthy meeting. So I thank you all for taking the time to do your due diligence for the evaluation. I was absent, so I would ask whether there's a statement from either trustee of the board regarding the evaluation. I know that you all took the formal vote that particular evening. Vice President Bowens, would you like to take the floor, or I open it up to either trustee?
Thank you, Madam President. We did, after vigorous discussions, any feedback, we came together as a board and rated our superintendent effective. And we look forward to continuing that partnership and working with our superintendent. And that's what the board statement was at that moment.
All right, thank you. I normally have a statement formally prepared so that as soon as we get done with the evaluation, I can send it out. I had media inboxing me, asking me if I had a statement. I can't give you a statement. I don't even know what the evaluation rating is. But I didn't feel comfortable telling her that at that particular time. So I'd also see if there's anyone else that would like to add a comment regarding the evaluation. Trustee Gavin.
Thank you, President Robinson. I just want to say that I'm concerned about the evaluation tool itself. I think that the tool does not allow for us to really look at the full body of work. And the way that it is designed, it does not, really give us a chance to do a rating that really matches what any superintendent would do. I'm concerned about the tool itself. I'm concerned about the facilitation of the tool. And I think that we just need to really take another look at the way that it is administered and just look for tools that will work for a district such as ours. Everything that works for another district may not necessarily work for a district that's been under dismantling. And so, I would just say that I'm concerned, and I'm hoping that as a group, we will consider either asking MASB to make some revisions so that we can fully assess properly, or B, look at an organization that will give us an opportunity to fully assess in a way that works best for us. And so, yeah, I just want to put that on the record. And then the fact that we don't have the totals, after that event, we should have had access to our totals, access to our tallies. We don't have that. And then normally after MASB conducts any type of class or facilitation, they provide an opportunity to give feedback in a survey. And I've yet to see that survey. I've called for it and I still have not received it.
Okay, so I can check into the survey piece of it, the absence of the tallies. Again, I wasn't present, so I apologize. And that wasn't even something that I realized that you all did not see. But I will check into ensuring that you all see those totals. As it relates to the evaluation tool itself, I agree it's not perfect. Those are conversations that we've had at the table prior. Secretary Triplett has shared with us another district that actually, I believe, developed their own model of an evaluation tool. What I do know is the state in general is changing the way that it does evaluations. And so we recently altered our policy to accommodate that change, the ratings are gonna change, and so there could be some changes to the tool. Now, I'm not exactly sure what date that new document is to be released. I can't remember. I know they shared it with us at a previous conference, but I will check into that so we can get a look at that model to see if it's one that's satisfactory for the board. We can also check if Secretary Triplett would not mind checking with the district that developed their own tool. They may be in a season of transition, being that the evaluation process is changing. So that may be a limitation for that, but we definitely have room to explore our options. The superintendent will need to be evaluated again in December for this particular school for this year, January through December. We will also have a checkpoint that we will need to have with him in April. So we are planning to adjust our tool or our model use. That's something we're gonna need to do expeditiously so we can ensure that he has the accurate model of what he's being evaluated on moving forward. As we do our checkpoints and get through his evaluation at the end of the year. Secretary Triplett.
Thank
Yes,
you.
to piggyback on what you said, and I think that it's very, very important that this board understand that we talk about the Michigan Association of School Boards. Michigan Association of School Boards does not govern any school board that participates in with alongside of them. And so they give a lot of wonderful information. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly. So we do have that option. I too had not questioned, but this was my first evaluation since I've been on the Board of Education. The first evaluation, my father died. And the second evaluation, after 3 years of not catching COVID and being wrapped up in 15 masks and what have you, I got COVID.
I just realized we've never had an evaluation as a board that included all of us.
We haven't. So I was glad to be there. The instrument that we had and what we have been using, I think that we were able to, as a board, collectively and individually, come up with what I think was a quality evaluation for the superintendent of Benton Harbor Area Schools. I was very proud of the work that we did. And also I am looking forward to the work of this Board of Education. I think one of the main things that if I had to summarize anything about the experience is that I came out of there really, really feeling better about accountability and where things were not personal. But we were able to come up with some accountability pieces and have some discussion. And that's what an evaluation is. And when you talk about evaluation for a board or of this size and what have you, we're not going to always agree, but I like the system itself. But we have a strong enough board, and I think we handled it very, very well.
Thank you. I would ask, is there any additional comments from the board as it relates to the superintendent's evaluation itself, the outcome of the results? I know that you more than likely gave your comments that evening, so there's no force. Just wanted to offer the opportunity.
Madam President.
You have the floor.
Yes, so just to piggyback, to be clear, so the tool was used by the facilitator and we did not get the areas. And so one thing that we were supposed to do is to do comments, but without having the official scores, it was very difficult to do that. So I would like some grace if we could get that tool and then we can move forward, because I think it'll be very critical in creating goals and a plan for continuous improvement. Also, yes, and so I think it's hard for us. We had some good feedback. And there was a statement that was prepared that we did make a collective statement.
Okay.
I'm not sure why that wasn't forwarded to the press. But we did, as a board, come up with a statement, and that statement was read by Vice President Bowens.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Thank you. One thing, okay, so as the board is being sent the tool and the scores to be able to give their actual comments so we can solidify it. Liz, if you could do me a favor and check to see whether or not I'm able to make a comment. I know that I was not formally there, so I didn't participate. Would that mean I can't even add a comment to the evaluation? Okay, so can you check for me? Okay. It's no big deal. I trust the input that you all gave if I'm unable to. So we're gonna proceed. Next on the agenda, we have the Policy and Discipline Committee update. Trustee Gavin. And can you remind the board of who your committee members are as we've made new changes this year?
Thank you, President Robinson. We're super excited that the policy and discipline has been combined. And our proud members are me, trustee Angela Doyle, and trustee Stephanie Rockett Martin. And we have the honor of working with Dr. Butts during that time. Can you all hear me okay? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good, thank you. So we did select me as the chairperson again this year. Really grateful for that opportunity to serve. We will be meeting at 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock on I believe it's the second Monday of each month. And then if there is a holiday, we'll just automatically roll over to the next Monday. What we're super excited about in our meeting is we were able to discuss kicking off that peer mediation program. There's probably over 50 students last year who indicated that they were interested in being peer mediators or very interested in learning more. And what that is students being trained, and also some staff being trained on how to solve conflicts between each other. So you imagine, we get an army of 50 students, even 25 student leaders who have that skill set of how to help mediate conflict between each other. That's just super amazing. The ripple effect of our students being their own solution is very exciting. So Dr. Butts gave the okay on that and that we are moving forward. And so very excited about that. And then he also added another feature of even using the Roar bus to bring in those students and connect with parents and get parents signed up to also take peer mediation classes in which the students would help lead. So, that's another very creative option, community engagement, and just us solving our own problems in a very beautiful way. So that was a really amazing meeting. We also talked about, kind of different ways to handle the expulsion hearings, looking for creative ways to make sure that students receive some type of social work assessments and consulting services, like different services, wraparound services, so that and really integrating restorative justice so that you're not just, getting kicked out of school, really looking for creative ways to help make sure that students, have an opportunity to really make good on what happened and be made whole, if that makes sense. So we're really excited about the, tossing around those creative ideas. And then we know that the school board, that our board trustees wanted to take another look at that discipline policy that just kind of indicated that stipulated that we didn't get involved until the very end. And that hasn't been working. Parents looking at us like, do you really care? We're not seeing the student, we're not seeing it until the expulsion has been, what's the word?
Appealed.
Appealed, thank you. Until the expulsion is being appealed. So we're going to take another look at those policies. If you all have some ideas in how you would like those policies to be changed, please review them and get that information to me so that we can, as a policy committee, review those. That's and I know that we may need to have a second reading of that assignment and transfer policy, but just waiting on, I guess, feedback from the president on that one. And that's all that I have. Was there anything else that the other committee members would like to share?
Not only did we look at,
Can you move up
not
to the
only
mic?
did we look at ways to restorative justice, but also to look at the victims' rights also, so that we consider both sides of the coin with that policy.
Thank you. I'm sorry, trustee Doyle, did you have anything to add to the update?
No.
Okay, I believe Secretary Triplett had a question. Trustee Gavin, were you recognizing him?
Yes, please.
Yeah, this is
Sorry.
for Chairman Gavin. This is one thing that we have to realize as well. I'm sorry, this is one thing that we need to realize as well. We had a policy where and in the transition of the chief operating officer, when it was almost basically a takeover, people just wiped out everything. That our practices that had stood the test of time. And then our previous superintendent, after the board came, when they came and presented a student, and we found out when they came before the Board of Education to recommend that this student should be expelled, that they had not done their due diligence. And so this child was not expelled. And so the policy is, we should still be able to find that policy, and the policy is simply this: the administrator make the recommendation to the superintendent of if there's a student that needs to be, that they want to bring before the board for expulsion. Bring that, and whoever the administrator is, they put all of the paperwork and what have you together. They present it to the superintendent. The superintendent then, along with them, decides whether or not they want to bring this student to the Board of Education for expulsion. At that particular time, there were 3 members on the Board of Education that met at those meetings, and they presented, parents were brought in, they decided whether or not they wanted this to be open or closed. When we got through with it, if it said they wanted it closed, we had the meeting, the board made the final decision as to whether or not a student is expelled from Benton Harbor Area School. And so that, I would like for us to go back and look at that policy, because like you said, we're getting it after they've already basically been expelled.
Thank you so much, Secretary Triplett. I remember that process, and it definitely was more helpful. And we also had a lawyer present to help us with that decision,
It was.
that difficult decision. Is that time up, President Robinson, or am I able to?
This is your committee update.
Okay, is there anyone else who had a question or wanted to give input on this issue? Dr. Butts as well. Looks like Treasurer Creighton.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to offer my assistance. I was one of the original people trained in the district for peer mediation, and also a certified peer mediation trainer. I have not been actively doing that recently, but I would love to offer assistance. I don't think it's something that I've lost. I think I might be a little rusty, but could definitely be on a planning committee or an advisory board for that. I know that that's something that we did have. And so just want to offer my assistance.
Thank you for that. I think we need all hands on deck for this. If we, have those creative solutions, and we have somebody on our board who already has experience in that area and who already has connections with the community, I think it will be a great opportunity for us to advance this mission. But of course, I yield to Dr. Butts. But I agree, and I would love for you to be able to assist in that.
All right, so thank you so much to the chair of the Policy and Discipline Committee for your update, and I am happy that you all like the merging of the committees. I thought that they went hand in hand and wanted to try to use the most efficient model of our time, so I'm glad that it works. So if there's no other discussion on that topic, we're going to proceed And just so that the board is aware, this is not to rush the work, but I want you all to know that the closed session that we have later, I believe the attorney that's coming is it 7:30, Liz? So we had him come at a delayed start so that he's not sitting here on the clock being paid before we go into the closed session with him. So I want us to do our due diligence with the conversation, but I do want you all to kind of keep that in mind. It's 6:49 now. I do not anticipate we'll be through the full agenda by 7:30. But I just want you all to know that when he walks in, he's on the clock. So we're gonna proceed to Dr. Butts, and he's going to give us updates beginning with the partnership agreement. Dr. Butts.
Thank you, Madam President. With the partnership agreement and the strategic update, I make sure I provide that during our regular session since it's just an update. But I would like to say our student representatives that will start with us at the next board meeting that were elected through a vote. Mr. Lazarus Ross and Ms. Armani Collins will be our board representatives that will be at the board meeting, giving us updates from the student side of the student's perspective.
Okay, and so trustee Gavin, you're gonna have to refresh my memory. Your policy as it's newly developed, does it require approval by the board? Or is the election the final step?
I believe that we approve,
Okay.
we approve.
So if the body has, I do not anticipate that we would ever decline who the body has selected, but if the policy was written that we
Let me
approve
double
it.
check. President Robinson, I don't want to,
Okay.
I don't want to.
Then we would just take a vote
Okay,
and then they would have their seat.
okay.
We can do that at the top of the business hour and then they'll take a seat. I just want to make sure that we do it in alignment with how the policy has been adjusted.
I thought that the goal and the emphasis was with them having the students having to say so in it. It wasn't for us to approve whether or not they would be able to participate. The goal was for the student body to be more involved in it. That was my understanding when I was on the policy committee.
May I address that, President Robinson?
You have the floor.
Thank you for lifting that up, Secretary Triplett. So we wanted to give ourselves time to implement that particular policy. So the next go round, that policy is effective for the next school year. So that gives them a chance to figure out who they're gonna be, campaign along with the other roles that they campaign in and all of that. So, yeah. We're doing it this way for now, and then we're gonna implement this new policy at the start of the year.
So as it stands, it does require a formal vote
No,
as it's written, or it doesn't?
does
It
not.
does not.
It does not. Okay.
But what I did though, to make sure that the students had their input was let Mr. Alexander handle the students and their votes. So it was not a superintendent selection on this one.
All right. So congratulations to them. We'll proceed. And then we'll ensure that we give them their full acknowledgement next week at our meeting. Mr. Ross was one of the Youth of the Year students that competed. He did an amazing job in his interview and in presenting his speech. And Armani Collins, as we all know, is Miss Benton Harbor. So I think that the student body did a great job with the selections, and I'm excited to see what our student representatives bring to the Board of Education. They will be placed on committees. Once they're assigned, they'll each have at least one committee I'll have them assigned to, as that is a requirement of our bylaws that you have one committee. However, we're going to be extremely flexible in that understanding that their schedules may not allow for them to always attend, but we do want to give them that opportunity to be assigned and participate. While we're in this section, I do just want to give. Actually, I'll wait. I was going to give an update on yesterday. But I can do that later or do you think right now?
Board.
I'm sorry. Okay, so I'll just be very brief. So as the board is aware, myself, Dr. Butts, Vice President Bowens and Secretary Triplett we were invited, the district was invited to a dinner meeting with the state superintendent, Dr. Rice. President in that meeting, as stated, was myself, Vice President Bowens, Secretary Triplett, as representatives of the board. We had to ensure that it was under a quorum. We had Dr. Butts present, Dr. Rice, of course, Eric Hopstock, who is the superintendent of Berrien Risa. And then we also had our partnership agreement rep from the Department of Education, Ms. Chapman, Gloria Chapman. She was there as well. And so it was a nice meeting. It was very cordial. The first half of the meeting, I would say, was spent with us getting to know each other, discussing Benton Harbor history, what individuals' histories were as far as where they went to college and things like that. So it was really a team building opportunity. One of the things that the state superintendent wanted to make sure that the board is cognizant of is that there are some changes that are coming from the state as it relates to the budgets that are being provided for students in school districts. And so the biggest thing that he wanted us to be aware of and be mindful of is that as we move forward, we're gonna have to think very forward with our budgeting and how we utilize our funds. Because the amount of money that we're used to getting is not going to be what we're receiving moving forward. Also ensuring that we are strategically making use of the fund dollars that we are saving from our loan deficit, but also reviewing the fact that any loss of students is a loss of funds, which kind of washes out the savings from the payments to the loan deficit. He also wanted to ensure that the board fully understood the seriousness of the work that we're doing and the challenges that we may particularly face in the upcoming years as we adjust to the difference in the budget and ensuring that our focus is in those areas as it relates to the functioning of the board, helping the superintendent navigate the district, and that we are not allowing distractions both internal and external to gear us away from the serious work at hand. And so he strongly suggested that we take deep looks at our current budget for this upcoming fiscal year, look at the anticipated students that we think we're going to have and project forward. I allowed him to say everything he had to say, and then I kindly let him know that those were discussions we're already having at our board table. We may not have been aware that there were going to be budget changes coming from the executive level, but we've already discussed how to reinvest or ensuring that we know how we're reinvesting our fund dollars, being prudent with our budget fiscally moving forward. And so it was a good meeting. I'm going to be honest, I did not know what to expect. The email was very peachy. But being a district of our position that has faced the state shutdown, and I'm invited to a business dinner and told to invite 2 others, I did not know what mood to anticipate, but it was an enjoyable meeting. I think that we were able to strengthen the partnership that we have with both the state, our partnership agreement, and Barry and Risa. And so I am looking forward to future opportunities for those board members that were unable to attend this first meeting to be able to have those conversations with Dr. Rice. And I'll see if there's anything that Vice President Bowens or Secretary Triplett would like to add from the meeting that I may have missed.
I think, first of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our president for representing the board in a manner in which I think each one of you all would have felt we should represent Benton Harbor area schools. And, you know, just to have this opportunity and making it clear, some of the things that we will be holding, because one of the things they talked about was, we've been talking about superintendent and board relationships. And we made it perfectly clear that we feel that we have a board astute enough that we are familiar with our roles as it relates to governance, oversight, and accountability. And we will be holding our superintendent accountable as it relates to the affairs of Benton Harbor area schools. And when he was talking about the financial piece, it was amazing and comfortable to be able to say that the chairman of our finance committee had already been doing that work and has been red flagging and saying the things that he has said to us about what we need to be doing as it relates to our finances, planning, and looking forward. I mean, forward thinking, because and he gave the example. We had the cut. I mean, our debt was eliminated. So I think it takes $900,000 out. But if you lose 100 students, that's $1 million. Well, we have lost 182 students. And so we have to make sure that we start planning accordingly. And so when we talking about right sizing, downsizing, and making sure that we are in alignment, because if we don't have the student, we are not going to be able, and I think that's what Benton Harbor went into debt prior to that, because they kept on operating like this largest district in Southwest Michigan, and they were dwindling. And so I think that we, as a board and our president and our vice president, and I think for the other board members to get an opportunity, I think we represented well last night.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. That reminded me, as it relates to board superintendent relationships, he said that each board should be doing it, I believe he said once a year. So that's something that I'm gonna be ensuring that we have on our regular schedule to give us a refresher on that particular training or variations of that training, so we can stay abreast of the latest updates and suggestions as it relates to how we do our board work and specifically how we support our superintendent. Another thing that I just thought about is that he's extremely excited about diverse libraries. I won't steal Dr. Butt's shine because I'm sure he's probably gonna make some updates later in the meeting about, from the email that he sent us about diverse libraries. And so he wanted to ensure that we knew that us having that is an asset that separates us from local districts. It's something that we should be spotlighting and putting the shine on, because it could be something that draws students back. So just inviting us to be very strategic, very creative, and ensuring that we are getting the positive branding and message out about the good things that we're doing at Benton Harbor Area Schools. Vice President Bowen.
Thank you, Madam President. It was an honor to be among you all and listen. You know, I agree with Trustee Secretary Triplett. Treasurer Creighton has been sounding the alarm. The next 4 months, we have to become laser focused and get ready to make some tough decisions. You never want to lay off or cut anyone, but we have to be smart and get in front of it before it comes to that point. So the next 4 months with doing the budget, right sizing and everything, we're gonna have to have some crucial conversations. And I want to just say thank you, Treasurer Creighton, for sounding the alarm. And it was feeling good to go into that meeting, knowing Treasurer Creighton has already been on it. So we're 2 steps ahead of the game. And they're looking to see how we're going to move and what we're doing. You know, one thing it also showed me is the eyes are watching us, whether we think it or not. It's focused on Benton Harbor and what we're doing and how we're doing it. So that's it on my end.
Secretary Triplett just reminded me of a moment that was slightly comical. Dr. Rice was giving us his feedback once he had turned to the business of the hour. And he was saying everything very eloquently and kind of talking around what he was saying. And so as he's talking, I'm kind of itching and I'm pulling up my sleeves, and Secretary Triplett, they know me very well, so they know I'm getting ready. And so I thanked him for his eloquent, manner in which he was presenting, but I basically told him that I'm a straight shooter. And I would prefer that you get to the point of your concerns, so that we can address it.
Pardon me, Madam President. but
Yes,
May I say something on that?
yes, you sure can.
You actually said, can you please get to the business, sir? I'm a straight shooter. Let's just talk straight.
So I wanted to, because I don't want to come out of this meeting with anybody being confused about what's being said. And I think that because of the manner in which I, changed the direction of the meeting, he wanted to be extremely sure that I wasn't not offended by what he said. And I was in no way offended, but I just don't sugarcoat things. So I prefer that people not sugarcoat with me. Even though I did not know what to expect going into the meeting, there was no fear in going because this is Tiger Nation and I'm speaking on behalf of Tiger Nation. So it was a very positive meeting. I'm excited to see what comes of it, and I will pursue opportunities to ensure that the other board members are able to attend. All right, so thank you to this board for the work that you've done so that we didn't have to go in as if we did not know anything that he was telling us. As always, we commend our finance committee. We commend Molly for her efforts, and we are looking forward to getting our sleeves rolled up in support of you all as we work on this budget and transition moving forward. So at this particular time, we are going to pass. This is a perfect transition over to the business and finance team. So we're going to begin with the finance committee update, Treasurer Creighton.
So I'm passing down the report. I printed them. I did not email them. I did print them out. Thank you all. I think it's fair to say that life is interesting and everything happened for a reason. A few months, well, several months back, Molly offered me an opportunity to attend a post-ESSER training, and it was for hours. And so I was like, Lord, what? But it was good to really put some fire under me and to encourage me for a time such as this. So thank you, Molly, for giving me your opportunity and allowing me to do that on behalf of the district. I did share the information with her. It was with people, board members and employees from across the country that received ESSER funds or COVID relief funds. And so it was a really good training. And so it kind of started the conversation. And so a lot of times at the board table, this is hard work for us. And sometimes hard work is hard work. And so it's difficult. I was talking to Molly in our finance meeting, and Molly is normally real even toned. And so she turned up a little bit, and I thought it was so cute. But she turned up and possibly mirrored some of our energy. But we're very serious about this, and so it's good to see her advocate on behalf of her department. But the conversation was like, listen, I want to do a good job. I want to make sure that I have the people that I need in my department to do the job. And so a lot of times when we're sitting at the table and we're making decisions and we give, someone called it pushback, I call it feedback. When we give our feedback, I think it's important for the public, for the employees and the admin team and everyone around us to understand that you have a job to do and we have a different job. And so our job just so happens to be to make sure that Dr. Buss is doing his job, which is to ensure that everyone else is doing their job. And so as we sit at the table, a lot of times we make decisions and people think that it's something else, but we have to be transformational and we can't be transactional, because this work is work that can transform this entire district. This is do or die. And so I just wanted to pre-message that. So when you hear the whispering and people think that it's something else, it's not. It's transformational leadership. Mr. Tripp would like to say transformational leadership. So, one thing that I said was, transformational leadership is important. And so when you think about that, you think about the whole to part, right? And so from a financial or budget standpoint, the budget, if you have a budget, then that's the work, right? You take that document and use it as your map to actually walk you or lead you to where you're supposed to go. And so our debate was, right, as a good accountant or a finance director, she let us know in her interview, like, hey, I know how to move numbers. I know how to make it work. And so my thing that I told her, I said, well, listen, we've done a lot more with way less. So let's make sure that we're doing more with more, right? And so I think we've done that. And so I just wanted to put that out there because this will be a hard and a heavy lift, which is why I have been intentionally not supporting a bunch of hiring, just because from a transformational standpoint, I know that transaction of hiring people could potentially cause that same person that resigned from another position in another district or another company that came here, and then they might have to get laid off and then be out of two jobs. And so that's why I make the hard decisions that I make. And I just wanted to put that out there. So if you look at the finance report, the committee report that I provided, and so what we do from a financial committee standpoint, we work together to get this done. So our notes are very liquid, so this is our agenda. When I send the email, everything will be hyperlinked, but it's also hyperlinked to this agenda. We had 2 meetings, if you look at the minutes, we did have 2 meetings. The first meeting, a non-committee member was invited from the cabinet. And so wasn't necessarily sure how we run our meetings, and so it took up a little more time. And so because we do our meetings on lunch, we had to have a second meeting to actually go through and conduct business. And so we did have 2 meetings. Also wanted to draw your attention to some of my notes. So if you turn the page to the back side, the committee report updates, many of those things comes from the business office via Molly. And then if you look at the next page, the third page, these are some of the running notes that I actually provide for the committee so that you all can help me hold my committee and myself accountable. And so it's titled Future Items, Action Items, Follow-ups, and Resources. So if you look through, these are some of the things that we are working on, or the finance department is working on. If you look down to the third bullet, it says right sizing. And when I send out that link, and you've received this before, but I'll resend it. If you click on that, it'll show you what the salaries were when surveyed by the MSBO, which is the state of Michigan. What does MSBO stand for? Michigan State Business Office. Yes, and so what is it?
Michigan, MSB, Michigan School Board.
School, no. Oh, school,
Board
okay,
officials, yes.
all right, school
Board officials.
business officials, but
Yeah.
office official, whatever. So, but this is a survey that was created, and so it will show salaries, and then a lot of times we sit and we trip over titles, but titles equate to money. And so it's important to understand, if you're the chief, you're expected to make more money. If you're the director, you make a little less than the chief. And if you're a manager, you make a little less than the director. And then if you're a coordinator, you make a little less than the next person in line. And so just understanding that, I think, is very important. And so as we are restructuring and we see positions listed, I've been given a lot of I think the district called it pushback, but it's not that I have necessarily a problem. It's more or less, I understand that when we change the titles, it is not saving us money. And so that's my fight. Like, I think we have to be very intentional with our language so that the money is actually aligned to what it is that we're expecting the person to do. And so I just want to invite you all to look at that. There's some other staff and resources on there. And then at the very end, this is something that we didn't actually talk about, but this is something that I've been working on, and I had an aha moment because, as we all know, we've asked for. And so one other thing I do want to mention quickly is that I know that President Robinson recommended to potentially merge the committee of HR and finance, and I didn't really understand it.
Facilities and finance.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
It was facilities and finance.
Okay,
Kind of,
so this is a remix.
okay.
So I guess from a treasurer standpoint, in the absence of an HR director, I was thinking that this might be a committee to merge, if possible, because currently our CFO is working with HR. On top of that, before our new CFO was hired, the last CFO, at the beginning of his tenure, he managed the entire business office, including HR and finance, and had an HR director under him. The chief was a new structure that our former superintendent started. And so as we think about these transitions, these were just notes that I did a little research in the districts around us, and this is what they're doing as far as managing the business office. And so I invite you all to take a look at that. And so that's what I have. I'm not going to steal Molly's shine. She's actually going to go into the financial reports and go through all of the vendor payments. And I think from my knowledge, we do have, this was interesting for me and it caused a lot of discussion. If you look at the beginning of the report, you'll notice that we talked about the contract renewals. And then the staff, the track presentation was a big deal. And so I'm not going to get into that. I think Chief Corson is going to talk about that. But that hadn't gone to the facilities committee and we didn't find out until after we had spent the hour talking about it. And so, and then we all know that the staff report SS3 is the boilers. And so it's the next phase of what we actually need to approve. So we talked about that. I don't think it was any opposition from the committee. And then we need to actually go into contract or lease for printers. And I think she might discuss that a little bit more. But printers are like cars, they're outdated. And so we do need to upgrade or update our printers throughout the district. Molly.
That's in. Hello. Okay, I think this is better. Thank you guys all and for Treasurer Creighton for the detailed summary. We did have the opportunity to meet twice this month. I know with the conversations that we had leading into this, with the conversations around Dr. Rice's meal and things we're looking forward to, we'll probably be meeting more often. And I'm actually very much looking forward to it. It is giving us an opportunity to look at things and build up operations the way we'd like them to be. And I'm excited for the opportunity. It will be a challenge, but I'm excited for the opportunity. One of the items I wanted to start with is we are in January of 2024 of our financials, which is where we're presenting this month. Our vendor report summary is actually about 1/3 of what we spent in December. That is mostly because we do present this report on a cash basis. And this report was in January when we had about 14 days out of the office. One of that being the holiday break, and the other piece of that being we had a week of snow days. So the expenditures were lower in this month in terms of cash flow. If other items that was on this report, from a vendor standpoint, there was a few payments to Andy Egan concerning our boilers and making sure they are operational for the year. That was a considerable amount of our expenses. The other piece was a payment to C2AE around our boiler project management that we had voted on previously. Many of the conversations that are leading to this are still happening, where we aren't seeing our financials look great right now because we are utilizing the ESSER funds, but we'll be looking to make sure that we're able to stabilize our funding with reoccurring revenue sources. Also, one of the items I wanted to highlight with the teaching and learning department is that we did recently receive 3 new grants. We're about $900,000 in total. That being the Michigan Kids Back on Track grant, which we're using to fund our extended day transportation. We also received $300,000 to bring and partner with communities and schools. We received an additional allocation for 31AA.
The schools,
Yes.
they're coming back. Oh my God. Like, that's so exciting for me. I'm sorry to randomly interrupt, but that years ago, that program was pulled out, and that was part of the reason why I transferred my daughter to another district. So I'm so grateful that we're getting that back.
Where as a leadership team, we all came together and we talked about what are the things we needed. We talked about the benefits of doing it district-wide. versus at different levels of the different unique schools. We agree across the system that we were excited to be able to roll this out and be partnering with them to have a consistent approach with our existing infrastructure. So we're excited about it. I know restorative justice is a big piece of what we'll be looking at as well with this. So it ties very much into the report that trustee Gavin gave earlier as well on peer mediation.
Very exciting.
From a funding standpoint, we're about 42% of our budget spent. But as you can see, our facilities adjustments are lower. We would expect to be about 58. So we are still increasing our fund balance each month, which is fantastic, which will help us when we hit that ESSER cliff to move forward. And I think that's all. I think that is a pretty comprehensive summary. Does anyone have any questions?
Trustee Gavin?
Thank you very much, Chief Vincent. I did have a question. I've kind of been asking the same question each meeting, and I hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly. Unetrics, am I saying that right?
Yes.
So my question is about training. Has there been any follow-up with that company to find out if the board or preferably the community can be trained on that dashboard? And if there is a way that dashboard can be used to follow the penny, follow the dollar down to the penny, drilling down. Has there been any research on the capabilities of that tool?
So the first thing that we have done is this short-term approach. We have put all of our vendor reports out on the transparency reporting site. So that was a good step in the right direction. I hear you that I know Monetrics has a lot more capabilities to it. And I think as we look at it, we can reach out to our rep to see how we could be using it better from a financial perspective. I will take that as one of my to-dos and provide an update on in next month's meeting.
Thank you for that. And so my follow-up question is, for our next board meeting, is that something that we would be able to receive an update on? I think that if we are, as a board, if we have an opportunity, I don't know, I can't speak for the whole board. I'll say me. I like to be able to look at the numbers from the perspective of a fifth grader, right? And be able to understand and drill down to the penny. I think the community would like that as well. And so I guess what I'm wondering is that something that we can get an update on at our next board meeting?
So basically, from Molly's standpoint, she can definitely research what she can do for Unetrics, but understand that it's the transparency reporting that's required by the state. And so although Unetrics is the tool, it's not necessarily meant to be something that's two-way. It is one-way communication that's provided as far as transparency. So if there are specific questions, or if there is if we could possibly work out like a training session, and she can reach out to the rep and see what tools they have available. But it is a one-way system. It's not meant to, be user. It's not really it's a one-way tool. So it's almost like a newspaper or like a newsletter or something. It's a report. It's not like an application that's meant to be two-way. It's one-way communication.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So my question was really just one, is it possible to reach out to Unetrics and find out if they provide training on their dashboard, both board and for community? And if their dashboard because I've been to a training before, but I want to make sure that they still do this. So it was a long time ago. If they still have the capabilities to allow users to drill down to the dollar, what has been spent in the district and what goes, and what we've received. I'm not saying that I want Molly to have all that updated by next week. I just want to know, can they do it? And if so, you know, can we get that type of training? Those two questions.
Okay, so Molly, if you can research that and then, if you can find out, that. And then just wanted to also respond to, all of our financial documents are, 4-year-able. 4-year-able. So if there's a community member that want to see a specific report, they do have that capability as well. But Molly, if you can follow up and send that by email, by Monday, that'll be good. Just some simple answers to those two questions. You don't have to have the training planned. If you can just research with the company those two questions. I also, so are there any other questions for the finance reports?
Yeah, I think that, when we're talking about board members make those types of requests for things that will take us into a different space of place, just like the question is just to check to see if it can be done. I think that should be done. When we're talking about, we really want to find ways to really honestly be transparent. Because at our last meeting, when we saw what we saw, by us just going through, it just got randomly caught. Because, for me, sitting on this board of education, I have yet to receive or been able to, because everybody is it's like people are working, but when you call for anything, they're in a pickle and a crunch. And these monies have been spent. So in order for them to have been spent, there should be documentation immediately. And so, for me, I am going to pay close attention. It is my responsibility as an elected official to pay close attention to what this money is happening, what's happening with this money. Because we have seen millions of dollars walk out that door and we don't know what it is, who it went to, and people are gone. And so again, like I said, I don't, if that's a good way for us to see, and it's a quick and easy way, then I would hope, like you said, Treasurer Creighton, those two questions, find that answer and bring that information to the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee bring it to us, because I really want to get on top of it, because I'm very concerned.
So.
Let me finish.
Okay.
And then you can go forth. Very concerned with what I saw. And so I'm gonna be on top of it.
So just for clarity, the information is currently available. It's not the availability of it. It's to actually be trained on how to read the reports is
Right.
what she's asking for.
Right.
So I just wanted to clarify, our transparency reporting is up to date and available. But Trustee Gavin had a great question she would like for the community and board members and whomever is interested to be trained on how to actually maneuver the dashboard.
Yeah, with that $9,000 correction made on the transparency report.
Madam President. So I'm gonna jump in for a second. I wanted to make sure Secretary Triplett called me out, so I want to make sure there's no members of the public that believe that I was texting on my phone. What I was actually doing was emailing the board information about communities and schools, and it's the Kalamazoo model that I worked for. So I know I got a little bit excited and people probably didn't know why, but I started working in education in Kalamazoo communities and schools, and they do an amazing job. I also sent you all the stats of their success rates so you can understand my level of excitement. And I misspoke. It wasn't the removal of that program that made me transition my daughter. It was when dual language was removed. So I just wanted to clarify that, make sure people are not on social media saying I'm texting during the meeting. Trustee Raquel Martin.
Oh,
This is my
Maybe
committee,
the
Madam
training-
President.
Go ahead.
are you done?
Are you?
Do you give her the floor?
You gotta respond.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Is this about a financial report?
No, a little bit.
Yes or no? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna comment on the training. Is it possible that this is the kind of training we could do in our board retreat? You know, the whole board can receive it right there and since
Ask
this
it for the-
public meeting, anybody else that wanted the training from the public could attend.
That's a good question. Thank you, Ms. Raquel Martin. So she's asking, can we do the training publicly? I'm sorry, at our board retreat. I think this is a great commercial into the proposed item that I sent out. Trustee Raquel Martin, asking that we could have a community power hour to discuss the finances moving forward and plans for closing out ESSER. And so I saw that Dr. Buss and his team put together a list of things that they've been currently doing over the past 2 years. So I think this would be a great opportunity to close out with this last power hour, kind of once and for all, come forward and address or share concerns or ideas for ESSER and then closing it out and moving forward. So that is something that I'm going to add. It was supposed to be added. I didn't see that.
It's on new business.
Okay, so we'll talk about that new business and that's a great suggestion. I'm not sure that the retreat though would be perfect for that since Ms. Gavin is requesting that we do that so that the public and parents and everyone can be there. So we might actually choose another time to have a special meeting.
All righty, so if there's no additional questions, we're gonna proceed. Molly will be presenting staff report F1. So please take a moment in the next 6 days to review the monthly financials thoroughly. So that we can ensure that we're prepared with any questions that are needed. I am asking the board, being that we're having our work session today, if there's questions that you've forgotten or you forgot to ask today, please email those in advance. Because the expectation for Tuesday is that we are going through the votes. We should have all clarification needed, limited discussion.
Madam President.
Yes.
My concern as the treasurer is that there are things that's in finance on the agenda that's not necessarily emergency, but it has not gone through the necessary committees, but it still made it to the agenda. And so I just wanted to say that on the record, for example, the track. And then also I noticed that some HR things that are not even printed tonight, but that showed up on the meeting agenda next week that has not gone before the work session or any of the necessary committees. So just be mindful of that moving forward. And if possible, I want to give one other shout out. I know that it was some question or discussion about the diverse libraries, and although finance did get that approved, that recommendation came from the teaching and learning chief Waddell actually made that recommendation. I think it was 2 different staff reports to make sure and ensure that we were able to get the culturally relevant text. So I do want to thank Dr. Crow and teaching and learning for actually doing that.
All right, so thank you. I do see that Ms. Waddell does have the diverse classroom libraries under her area. As it relates to the track award, I did see the emails that went back and forth, and so Secretary Triplett made a good comment that the work session is meant for us to dive into the work, and so that it will give us an opportunity to review and discuss. There was also a question that you asked that I have to clarify or see if I can make happen for Tuesday. So I plan to get the clarification from the attorney that you asked for before we potentially take a vote on that item. As it relates to the track today, I want us, they have 2, they have a track reward and a turf option, which I think the part of the concern was that there was no turf with the SS1 bid. So we're gonna kind of get the update today, go through it. If we find that for Tuesday's meeting, we don't have enough information or something's problematic, then we as a board have a decision of what actually is formally on the agenda for vote at that time. So, Secretary Triplett,
I'm trying to keep up with where we are on this agenda.
we're gonna segue into teaching and learning.
Okay, but yeah, so I do want to say, that it is important that we understand, I know we have our various committees. However, when we transition to this structure as well, it gives us an opportunity, to discuss it at this particular meeting, any concerns that anybody has as it relates to what the facilities committee or the teaching and learning committee is proposing. This is what this meeting is about. And I do want to clarify that although this particular document that was presented, we had not had a committee meeting since, but the track, they were at our last committee meeting, they were given the go-ahead to start doing the research and to bring some things together so that we could bring it to the committee. And so now we're in a committee as a whole structure too. So each one of us have some information or we got some questions about what we're seeing here. That's what this is about, because this was my push for committee as a whole. We might have a committee meeting with 3 people that's on that committee, but a lot of times the committees aren't as thorough and bringing this information, and we get this information at the table, and it has caused us to have spend an extended time during our business meeting. So for teaching and learning.
Madam President,
Treasurer Creighton,
I would like to make a motion that we amend the agenda,
for what particular?
to move our closed session up.
Support.
I have no objections. Do you know exactly, are you wanting to place it now?
Correct. There's a support.
Okay, so the motion was made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Trustee Gavin that we move our closed session that's at the end of the agenda to directly where we are now. Is the board wanting to take a brief recess before we go into it, or do we want to go right into it? We can do a brief recess, or if you all have a preference.
I think we have to amend the agenda first, right? We have to pass the motion
Yes,
Mhm.
and then
Okay. and then,
Okay. So, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes, Treasurer Creighton,
yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, so our next item of business is the closed session. However, what I did not get clarification on from the board is whether you all would like a brief 10-minute recess prior to going into the closed session, or do we want to go right in?
Madam President,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to go into closed session at 7:45 PM. After 9
Okay,
minutes.
so we can
recess.
take a quick, that would be about 6 minutes of recess.
Oh, wait, my clock must be wrong.
Mine is 7:37.
Okay, so 7:50, good, okay? You need 10 minutes or 5?
Yeah, that's fine, because if I say 10 minutes, we won't be back
Okay,
until
so
7:50.
Madam President, I would like to make a motion that we end open session and go into closed session regarding policy 0167.2F at 7:50 PM.
All right, the motion was made by Treasurer Creighton. Is there a second or support?
Doyle second.
Okay, the motion was made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Trustee Doyle. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes, Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, so just a moment of clarification for the community that is present. Once I hit the gavel, we're going out for recess. When we come back, we're going into a closed session, which the community is not privy to. You all are more than welcome to wait until we return. You are also more than welcome to choose to go home and watch us virtually if you'd like. However, all of the business at hand that we're discussing today will be back on Tuesday's agenda for formal vote. All right, the motion passed, so we are going to take recess, and when we return, we're going into closed session at 7:50.
We take him.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Secretary Triplett. Can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes?
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes, Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin. Yes. Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, so we are returning to open session very briefly. We received clarification that there's a specific way that we need to enter our motion. So at this particular time, I'm asking, is there a motion to go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.2681E to consult with counsel regarding settlement strategy in connection with specific pending litigation, e.g. versus Benton Harbor Area Schools, case number 012300591996, pending in the American Arbitration Association because an open meeting would have a detrimental financial effect on the litigation or settlement position of the district.
So moved.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Trustee Doyle and supported by Secretary Triplett. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes, Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin. Yes. Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion passes. We are going into open session officially at closed session officially at 7:55 PM.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
trustee Gavin.
No.
I called, the motion is passed. I call this meeting adjourned officially at 9:25 PM. Have a great night, everyone.
I would like to be added that we end work sessions starting effective April.